The moment everything stopped. It didn't start as a crisis. It started as a celebration. Shohei Ohtani had just done it again. His 13th home run of the season. A ball that left his bat at 183.4 km/h and disappeared into the left field stands at PNC Park like it was never meant to stay in this world. The crowd, even the Pittsburgh crowd, went quiet for a half second before the noise came back. Not cheering. Just the pure, involuntary gasp of people who had witnessed something they couldn't explain. That was the moment the night should have been remembered for. It wasn't. Because what happened next didn't belong in a baseball game. It barely belonged in a sport at all. The play came in the very next inning. The kind of play that announces itself before it fully happens, where something in the body tenses before the mind can process why. 3 Pirates players converging on the same moment. The same man. Shohei Ohtani. It wasn't one collision. It wasn't one mistake. It was 3 separate decisions, made in rapid succession, that all ended at the same point: Ohtani on the ground, his right knee twisted beneath him, and a stadium that had gone completely, terrifyingly still. The medical team didn't wait. They were already moving before the silence fully settled. The umpires gathered. Video review was requested. And then the extraordinary happened, the kind of decision that you see maybe once in a decade of professional baseball. After reviewing the footage from every available angle, the crew chief made the call. Not one ejection. All 3 Pirates players removed from the game. Their uniforms, per the extraordinary circumstances of the review process, formally confiscated as part of the incident report. It was a ruling that no one in the press box could immediately find a precedent for. And somewhere on the field, Dave Roberts stood at the edge of the dugout with an expression that told you nothing about what he was actually feeling inside. The medical team surrounded Ohtani for 4 minutes and 20 seconds. It felt longer. Everything about those minutes felt longer, the way the players stood in the outfield grass not knowing where to look, the way the crowd noise settled into something low and uncertain, the way the cameras kept cutting to the Dodgers dugout and finding faces that were doing their best to hold themselves together. 4 minutes and 20 seconds is a long time in baseball. It is an eternity when the person on the ground is Shohei Ohtani. He had arrived at PNC Park that evening already carrying the weight of something larger than one game. The Dodgers were in a stretch run, playing the kind of baseball that makes October feel inevitable. Ohtani had been the engine of it. His ERA at that point in the season had become the kind of number that sports writers struggle to present without qualification, as if the number itself feels like a typographical error. His bat had been producing home runs at a pace that had stopped being surprising and started being expected. Which is its own kind of extraordinary. The 13th home run had come on a 2-1 count. A slider that didn't slide quite enough. Ohtani had read it from the moment it left the pitcher's hand, shifted his weight into the ball, and driven it with the kind of controlled violence that looks effortless from the stands and requires years of precision to execute. The Dodgers dugout erupted. Ohtani rounded the bases at his characteristic pace, not slow, not showy, but present. As if to say, yes, this happened. Let's continue. They did not get to continue in the way any of them had planned. Dave Roberts walked onto the field before the medical team had finished their assessment. Not running. Walking. The walk of a man who has managed long enough to know that how you carry yourself in a moment like this matters, to your player, to your team, to the 27 other men in uniform who are watching their manager absorb information they cannot yet have. He crouched beside Ohtani. There were no cameras close enough to record what was said. No microphone captured the exchange. What was visible, from a distance, was Roberts placing one hand on Ohtani's shoulder. Staying there. Not rushing. Not looking up at the medical staff for reassurance. Just staying there. Whatever he said in that moment, it was not about baseball. The Pirates' interim manager did not take long to find the reporters after the game. He was already at the microphone before most of the press had settled into their seats. His face carried the particular expression of a man who knows that the night has become something beyond the final score, and that almost nothing he says will be adequate to that fact. The Dodgers had won. That almost felt secondary. A reporter asked him directly, "What was your reaction when the umpires reviewed the footage and issued that ruling?" He exhaled slowly. Not dramatically. The way a person exhales when they have been holding their breath for longer than they realized. "I don't think any of our players intended what happened," he said. "But I watched the video. I watched it the same way the umpires watched it. And I understood the call." There was a pause. You can't see something like that and argue about the ruling. You just can't. Another reporter pressed further. 3 players. Uniforms confiscated. Had he ever seen anything like that? He shook his head. Slowly. The kind of headshake that isn't an answer, it's an acknowledgement that some questions don't have clean answers. "I've been in this game a long time," he said. "I've never seen anything like tonight." The room stayed quiet for a moment after that. Not because there were no more questions. But because that sentence, flat, unadorned, delivered without drama, landed heavier than anything more elaborate would have. Across the hallway, the Dodgers press conference had a different atmosphere. Not lighter, exactly. More suspended. The way a room feels when everyone inside it is waiting for information that hasn't arrived yet. Roberts entered and sat down. He looked like a man who had made 40 decisions in the last 90 minutes and was still in the process of deciding if he had made the right ones. The first question came fast: "What is Ohtani's status?" Roberts nodded, as if he had known this would be the first question. As if he had been preparing the answer since the moment he crouched beside Ohtani on the field. "He's being evaluated. We'll know more in the morning." He paused. "I'm not going to speculate on what we don't have confirmed yet." That's not fair to him. It was a short answer. It was the right answer. A reporter asked him about the home run, whether, in everything that followed, there was any space to appreciate what Ohtani had done before the incident. Roberts looked up at that question. For the first time in the press conference, something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile. Something quieter. The home run was, he stopped. Started again. When he hits a ball like that, you don't take it for granted. You watch it happen and you still don't fully believe it. Even when you're managing him. Even when you've seen it dozens of times. He put both hands flat on the table. That part of tonight was beautiful. I want to be clear about that. Then his voice went a little lower. What came after it was not. Freddie Freeman was one of the last Dodgers to speak with reporters, briefly, near the clubhouse entrance. He had his jacket on. He looked like someone who had not fully processed the evening yet and was not going to try until he was somewhere quieter. A reporter asked him what the mood was in the locker room. Freeman was quiet for a moment. He looked at a point somewhere above the reporter's head. When something like that happens to a teammate, he said, you feel it. All of us felt it. It doesn't matter what the score is. He paused again. Shohei is, another pause. Longer. He prepares like no one I've ever been around. He cares about this game in a way that is hard to describe. And when you see him go down like that, he stopped. Shook his head. You just want him to be okay. That's where everyone is right now. Just wanting him to be okay. It was the simplest thing said all night. It was also the most important. The final numbers from the game will be entered into a box score somewhere. 13th home run. A Dodgers win. 3 ejections. An injury review pending. But what the box score cannot record is the 4 minutes and 20 seconds of stillness at PNC Park. It cannot record Dave Roberts' hand on a shoulder, steady and unhurried, in the middle of a baseball field. It cannot record the way Freeman stopped mid-sentence because some things resist completion. It cannot record what it meant to watch the best baseball player on the planet hit his 13th home run of the season, and then watch everything that followed. There are things in baseball that statistics can explain, and things that they cannot. Tonight held both. The home run belonged to the first category. Everything after it belonged to the second. And somewhere in a medical facility in Pittsburgh, Shohei Ohtani was waiting for answers, the same as everyone else.